I don't know. What do you think? Is that a little bit better than last time?
It's up to
Ah.
you, bro.
All right. Well, wait till the intermission time. I have a little mix with that one. I put that one together early today. So, well, I want to welcome everybody on the Squatch Radio. And tonight, shortly, we're going to bring in our guest. We have Ty Chapman, and I do believe Corey Holden is with Ty Chapman. We're going to learn about the Bonaparte Bigfooters from Iowa, and she's actually had some recent activity. We're going to get her to talk about that and fill us in on that and what they've been up to lately. And they got some good stuff going on, and I already have a couple questions from the get-go to ask. And then at any time, feel free. Guess I'll be checking the live chat. And like I said, Shaky, feel free to jump in at any time. Meanwhile, everybody, I think we're ready for our guest to jump in here. You ready, Shaky?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
All right. Let's see what we got. Ty Chapman, you're live.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm glad we finally got you on here. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Third time's a charm.
That's right. All right. I'm trying to browse, I'm always through the internet. I'm always on Facebook browsing back and forth and everything. And just to start off with, I thought it would be cool to, I was going to ask off, a couple of other things. But with seeing your recent activity, I was wondering, since it's fresh on your mind, I thought we could kind of get into that. Now, a couple things with that. First of all, you were sharing some information. You heard some yelling going on nearby. Is that correct?
Yeah, last night we heard two yells from a female, we believe.
Okay, and then and another thing we're gonna speak about a little later, but as far as I agree with you when and I'm sure Shaky will too. As far as we need to earn their trust, and I see that's something you speak about, and you brought that up earlier on under one of my posts and what you were just going on to explain in your post. I believe that is very important. I believe that's important with anything that's in the forest that we're trying to gain respect of or try, But yeah, how about you share with us a little bit about as far as how you gain? Is there a certain way you go about gaining your trust for these these creatures?
Yeah, we when we first started going out, right away we were like, no lights. We don't use any lights at all. No, well, we take a flashlight, but we don't use it unless we absolutely have to. We don't take any photos, just us. And I think that trust is the first thing you need to do when you go out squatching. I mean, if you don't have their trust, you're not going to get anything. That's my opinion.
Right.
So,
I
we
agree.
Go
Now, how long? How long? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. It took us 17 months to gain what trust we have right now. So, and we're just getting vocals. Yeah.
Now, could you describe the different vocalizations you guys hear?
Well, we hear the yells, of course, sometimes from male, and lately we've been getting female yells for like 3 nights in a row. And pretty exciting.
I'd say so. Now, what I have to ask, because I hear different opinions of different thoughts from different people based off of their experiences and what they hear. But now, as far as you're saying, you are describing male and female. Is there anything that I guess you could say deciphers or that sets the two apart as far as male versus female and their vocalizations?
Well, the females vocals are real high pitch. I mean, you can just tell. The males are like real low and deep, and they go on forever. So yeah.
Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. Huh. Okay. Now, last time I was going to have you on the show. Now, I didn't get to do it this time, but I had all the photos that you shared with me originally. Now, I'm thinking about a couple right now in my head. Now, you shared some pretty good pictures. You had some fresh, you had some tracks in there, and you're using your foot as a, scale for size on one of the tracks. And also, there's a couple other things I'll ask you about too. But now that how big was that track roughly? Would you say? And then did you ever find any more in that area?
Well, we found the one track. That's all we found, and it measured 14 inches long. Yeah, that was the only one we found in that vicinity. And it was on a rock bar in the mud, so.
Now, has anyone ever asked you? Well, now I've been asked this. That's why I was going to ask you. And I'm sure you've probably seen it on social media somewhere where somebody's asked, especially a skeptic. But like sometimes when we come across a single track, I mean, has anyone ever asked you, well, why are you only finding one track? Have you ever been presented with that question before?
Actually, no.
No? Well,
first time.
Okay. Well, just curious. I mean, if somebody was like, say, you don't know me, and I was a skeptic who you just so happen to share that picture with. Well, and they asked you that. Well, how could that be a squatch track? Why didn't you find the rest of the tracks? Like, how would you answer that question if that was presented to you? Well, why are you only finding one track? I mean, I know it's kind of a putting you on the spot kind of thing, but
Yeah, it is.
It's challenging your mind.
Yeah, really.
Your mind.
Yeah, you are, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, these are things as researchers, I think it's important that we should, be able to, come back, and this is actually will help. The way I look at it, this here will actually help our presentation as far as our not just credibility, but it would actually enlighten. I believe in a way it may enlighten the skeptic. It might make them have some form of understanding. I mean, a lot of skeptics are, there's some, some of them are really tough to crack, but,
oh yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, so if I was to present that to you, like, well, why did you only find one track? Yeah. So yeah, like, how would you go about responding to that?
We don't know.
I don't know how I'd answer that. I'm like fairly new at this. I've been doing it March of 2015. So I'm kind of new at this.
Okay. Would you mind if I present a little information to you? That way you might be able to use it if something like that's ever brought to you. Because I use this a lot, and I speak about it in some of my presentations, especially when I talk about tracks and everything. Well,
yeah.
This is one thing I look at. Now, keep in mind, I found bear tracks. I've come across thousands of bear tracks. And there's been an incident or two I can recall coming across single bear tracks. Now, and I used them probably a couple years ago. I made a video about this, and I use this for an example. People always talk about, well, why are we only finding single squash tracks? Well, simple. You got to consider the ground, the soil, the terrain. All that's part of the key role. That's part of a key role, right there. Is the ground hard? Is the ground firm? Does it have rocks, gravel? Those kind of things. The other thing is got to consider weather. Did the other tracks get diluted or wash away from weather, and one track just so happened to be preserved? That's how I come about it. I said it's either weather or you got to consider, well, the ground's firm. there just so happened to be a soft spot in this area where the subject happened to step and left its mark. So that's one thing I kind of go about doing it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot clearer ways of explaining that. I know I'm not always the best at explaining what I do, but but yeah, that's something you have to consider. If you're only finding single tracks in certain areas and it's not making sense to you, just kind of look at the terrain, look at the soil. Does that ground get soft during the wet weather? Could it produce human tracks? So
yeah.
But that's just something to consider. Something to maybe keep in the back of your mind. But I think I've seen other people get presented with that, and I've seen other people ask that question. And I mean, to me, what I presented as far as the soil, the firmness of the soil, the weather, and all that, to me that makes sense. Because like I said, I found single bear tracks the same way. So
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that up. And oh, no problem. Oh, not a problem. Anyway, anything I can always help with.
Well, your answer was better than mine.
Oh, what's your answer?
It was a one-legged squatch.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
Good one too.
Yeah, could have been a deformity. I mean, just like some of the tracks some of us come across. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, when's the last time you have you guys been out? Because now you and Corey, you guys pretty much go out together.
Yes.
Yeah, just about every night.
That's actually a smart thing too. Going out together as a team. And because I mean, are you familiar with a lot of known animals and wildlife in your area?
Yeah, I know all the wildlife here.
Awesome. What kind of predators do you have in the area?
We have mountain lions, bobcats, coyotes. A gray wolf comes through here every once in a while.
Okay, bear maybe.
Yeah, black bear.
Okay, yeah, we have
snakes and copperheads.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of black bear here in Virginia. Now we have mountain lions, but I think they're very scarce. But they are here. But yeah, as far as going out as a team, that's very good. That's a safe way to go about it too. Because you're always safer in numbers. I think you're more vulnerable if you were alone. So
yeah, definitely.
Another question I want to ask, because after this question, I'm going to give Shaky a chance to ask some questions. Now, one thing I'm aware of, and I helped Melissa George promote her other books. Now, you're a part of the newest book she has. You're one of the authors of her newest book. It's involving Bigfoot encounters. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, she actually did most of the work. I just submitted a story, an encounter that I had.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She wants to talk to you about that.
Okay, not a problem. Well, I'm definitely glad to help promote it. I like to help put the word out there and promoting people and help spreading awareness, and that's part of what I like to do. And make sure people are aware of what kind of information we all have to share with each other. So that's awesome.
Right.
Now,
well, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Now, I kind of lied a little bit, but I thought after I asked that, I was going to bring it over to Shaky. But after you shared a little bit of piece of information right there, you kind of raised another question that popped up in my head. I have to ask your encounter. Got to ask about the encounter. And I was wondering if you could give us and the viewers a rundown on your encounter, what led up to it, and what you experienced out of that encounter.
Oh my gosh, that was a very scary encounter I had. You want me to just tell what happened?
Or whatever, how you feel comfortable doing it. We're all ears.
Okay. Well, I went down to the Des Moines River one night. The stars were everywhere, so I thought I'd go, gaze at the stars. It was about 10:30 at night, and I was sitting on the ledge there with my feet hanging over, and I happened to hear a rock hit the water, which really didn't grab my attention. But the third rock that hit the water, I kind of glanced over to my right, and I saw, the top of the head of something. It was on its hands and knees. And it kind of scared me a little bit, so I stood up, and this thing stood up, and it scared me to death. I didn't know what it was. I kind of thought it was a man sneaking up on me on his hands and knees. And when I stood up, and it stood up, saw me stand up, it stuck down. And that happened 3 times, ducking down. And a car happened to pull in, boat ramp, and I don't know why I took my eyes off this thing, but I did, and I glanced at the car. And just that quick, I glanced back, and it was gone. And this thing was huge, Daniel, and it was covered in hair. I didn't see a face on it because there was hair down in its face. And I'm thinking it was the Missouri Moss.
Right.
But yeah, that was a very scary encounter. That was my first one here, and it really scared crap.
That is interesting. And I mean, I know you said you didn't get a look at the face, but as far as besides, you said it had long hair.
Yeah, its hair covered its face. You couldn't see a face.
What color was the hair?
I really couldn't tell. It was a dark color. I know that. Maybe black, dark brown. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think its intentions were?
Pardon?
What do you think its intentions were? What did you get the feeling it was up to?
Well, the way it was crouched down and coming towards me, I thought it was going to grab me. That's why I stood up real quick. I thought it was a man at first. Excuse me. And that's what made me stand up. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Yeah.
So at this particular time, you were alone then?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting there by myself on the ledge. Corey was, he was, I don't know, how far were you away behind me?
50 feet.
He was like 50 feet behind me, and I didn't know it. I didn't know he was back there.
Wow.
But, yeah.
That's true.
No fence, nothing. Of course, where it was crawling, it was all, big rocks. But we found no evidence whatsoever of it the next day.
Now, that kind of makes me wonder if that's why it was crawling down on all fours, because of the rocks or the terrain.
Yeah, maybe.
Could that
sneaking up on me, I believe.
Maybe. That's interesting. Steve, what you got anything else for them? I'm gonna let you. I got a couple more.
You gotta wonder if that car hadn't pulled in. You gotta wonder what would have happened.
Oh, I do all the time. Yeah.
You ever when you go out there, are you armed? Do you ever take any protection with you?
No.
No, I never do.
I never go in the woods with that. I always carry 45 or 40. I carry a gun in the woods. I carry a gun when I go to town. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. I was out in Iowa. It's been more than several years ago. It was right after a tornado came through there. So I'm gonna say, not 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I was out there, and a lot of cornfields, a lot of fields, a lot of deer. There's a lot for them to live off of out there.
Oh yeah.
So you wouldn't think of Iowa being a place for Bigfoot. I mean, just off the top of your head, you wouldn't think of it. But I guess there's a lot of cover for them to be, and you're right below Minnesota. which goes up into Canada. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't migrate down. It's,
Southeast Iowa is very forest. Yeah. There's a lot of forest here in Southeast.
Oh, it's a beautiful country out there.
Yeah, it
great
really
duck
is.
hunting out there.
What's that, duck hunting?
Yeah, it's just really great duck hunting in Iowa too. Other than that experience, have you had any kind of run-ins with any more aggression, or seem to have any kind of
anytime.
No more aggressive
that
behavior?
That one encounter was the only time I ever felt, fear or had any sort of type of aggression.
Now, did that Squatch happen to give off any kind of guttural growls or any sound during the approach?
No noise at all. None. There was no odor to it either that I smelled anyway.
Right. Well, it's funny you bring that up because, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to say that just makes me think that he was up to no good. If she didn't smell him, he's coming up from the downwind, and he's not making any noise, so he's sneaking up. So he in my mind, it seems to me he was up to no good. Just from the image I'm getting in my head of it, I'm picturing in my head how it was happening, and how he was pursuing you. It just seems like that was just he had something in his mind, and he was very intelligent the way he was doing it.
Yeah, because the way I was looking at it, which that makes a lot of sense. The way Shaky presented that, brought that up. Because the other way, if we look at it a different point of view, because this is, I guess the way I was looking at it, perhaps, the approach that he was coming from, and I guess, and this is kind of how, the reason I kind of gather this, because I'm kind of considering other people's stories, encounters, and sightings too. One in particular, which almost sounds similar, but in this other one that I'm thinking about, the subject didn't approach. It seemed like it was kind of all right, in your situation, the way I was looking at it, the subject was perhaps approaching that area and then maybe noticed you when it was too late, and it's like, it was kind of like, oh, shit, human. and then and then it's like, with them looking, with them usually averaging to be large to begin with, they're, for us not being familiar with them, being present with them, not on a normal basis, I think it's a natural, I guess, feeling that we get to feel that intimidation as well, because that fright, there's a touch of feeling of fright, or just that anxiety where you don't know what to think, what the subject's capable of doing, and you don't know how he's going to come after, could he come after me? Could he kill me? Could he, whatever, I'm sure all those thoughts probably race through your mind. Maybe not then and there, but, so I don't know, I guess there's a number of ways to probably look at that. But, I like what Shaky brought up, but, so there's could be a number of things that were possible, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, as far as any other encounters, do you have any other ones you recall?
I've had a lot of encounters, local down here where we're at lately,
right.
But our other areas, we get a lot of vocals, a lot of tree knocks. They like to hit trash cans a lot too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We had an incident one time, kind of funny. Someone had to use the bathroom, put it that way. And that person did, and I got to giggling. And as soon as I started giggling, we heard right in a row like 3 big tree limbs being snapped in half. And this was like maybe 20 feet from us. and that was kind of unnerving. We weren't expecting that, but
wow,
yeah.
that's like just to kind of sit back, close your eyes, and hear that. It's kind of exciting, really. It's almost kind of.
I don't think they like that very much.
Yeah.
Well,
I wonder, when you just said that, I wonder how many people had encounters or sightings while using the bathroom in the woods. Because I'm going to tell you, you're the second one I heard mention something like that. Because I've actually, one of my reports, right now, it's a partial report, but it was an incident that took place many, many years ago from, a reliable source who shared some information. And ever since that incident, the individual that was involved with the gentleman that shared the information with me, all those years, the individual did not speak about it, did not mention anything of what happened. They just knew something scared the living daylights out of him, and he came running back. The poor guy never got to use the bathroom. When the other guys went to sleep at night, that guy stayed up all night feeding that fire, keeping that fire blazing. And then it's funny because when the individual shared the information with me, he said he contacted his buddy, not long ago, and got him to talk to him. I said, "What happened back then?" He said, "Something freaked you out." And he said, they knew he went to the bathroom, at least go use the bathroom, so many yards away from the camp. Well, the guy came up and told him. He said, "You probably you won't believe me. I am not saying that because no one will ever believe." He said, "Try me." My buddy, he's a skeptic, but he believes there is something out there. He knows all the wildlife. He experienced a lot of the different wildlife. He knows what they do, and he's come across a few things that he cannot explain. So he does his own investigations, but he didn't mock his friend. When his friend told him he was getting ready to squat down to do his business, the bushes behind him, something rustled in the bushes behind him. He turned around, and from the story that was received, he was about 5 feet away from the Squatch. That Squatch was over 7 foot. 7 foot tall, and the guy had one flashlight, and the flashlight shined. He had reddish brown hair, and he probably there was probably like a 5 to 7 second window there where he was froze, staring at the subject as he came from a crouching position and stood straight up. And he didn't stop to turn around to see if he was going to do anything. The Squatch never gave no facial expressions and nothing. Just a simple glare. And that was the end of that. But the guy, that sighting being that close to a creature, some people don't believe or never think about something like that existing, But yeah, I mean, I find that very interesting. You kind of, I think we're catching these creatures off guard, and I think it's, some of us get fortunate for those kind of things to happen.
Yeah.
We got a couple questions on the chat. I just noticed.
I
go ahead, Shaky.
One here. Remember that? Remember I told you about that?
I remember that. If you want, feel free to share that with them.
Oh, no, it's not about me. It's about her. We got to talk about her.
I know. But that was interesting that we were bringing that up. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. that was an experience, though.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ty, what actually sparked it? What was the spark that got you into it? What's that fire?
Well, what really got me started was I was 10 years old. I went to the movies and saw the movie The Legend of Boggy Creek. And that's what really got me started back then. But really squatching, I had met Corey online, and he was telling me about the activity he was having and invited me to come and join him, and I did, and I love it. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
That's awesome. And
it's just like Michael Cook said, getting out of the house and even walking through the woods. It's even if you don't see a squatch, you're out exercising and getting fresh air and seeing wildlife.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's enjoying life.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ty, not to cut anyone off, I have a question. Well, there's a few questions on the, two right off the bat. First question comes from Nikki. She wants to know, what do you think squatches are?
I don't know. My opinion, I think they come from Gigantopithecus. I think that's what I think. I mean,
okay.
That's it.
And I'll be honest, a number of us actually believe along those lines. Now, that's something I used to push on. I can't say push, but yeah, I have to be careful. And I've shared this information recently with some questions that were asked to me in a private chat. I was asked about, do I believe it was a descendant of Gigantopithecus? Yes, I believe it was. But then I have to. It's a kind of a tough thing. I went on explaining my thoughts behind that, but yeah. Which I'll be glad to share with you offline. I don't want to get into the discussion here. I want to keep the focus on you, you and Corey. So, so I want to be careful with that. Let's see. And the other question is, hold on, let me scroll back up because I'm getting other things popping up. Okay. Here's the other question from Nikki. All right. She goes on. She says, "What does she want to get out of her research?" So yeah, she's asking that for you.
Honestly, I just enjoy the interaction with them. I love it. Just interact with them, communicating with them, if that's what you want to call it. I just love it.
Right.
Cool.
Awesome. Now, here's another question from user Flycatch. Now, I don't know if it sounds like it's just more or less addressed to everybody here. Question is, why do you all call yourselves Bigfoot researchers when in reality you are investigators? You research the known and investigate the unknown, which I understand where they're coming from. But as far as definition of researcher, is an investigator. We're investigating and researching the situations and trying to study and get familiar with the unknown. So, yeah, I mean, either way, it makes,
Well, I can answer that on my part because I know they exist because I have seen the damn thing.
Yes,
Right.
they do.
Yep, they exist.
Now,
So
would you guys all agree that, would you all agree to say that they are unknown to science, but they're known to us? Is that correct?
Yeah. I agree.
So I mean, because science, if you look in reality, you got the group of people. There's a hard, I guess you say a hard. I don't want to say stubborn, but there is a class of people which they do look at things very strictly in a logical sense. And they try to look at everything in an objective view, which we should do anyway when we're researching or out and scouting around, finding evidence. But, you have those who strictly do not acknowledge the existence. Yeah, you might have skeptical scientists, which we do have skeptical scientists. But, on the other hand, they're, like I said, they're very objective to a lot of evidence that's presented to them. And I think we should be the same way. But that was interesting that they brought that up. Well, I'm sure we'll see more in a little bit. They're still typing. They're typing more. I see it on the live chat.
Hey, can I cut in for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Corey, you're being so dang on quiet. I forgot you were here, buddy. I asked, with her thing, what sparked your interest? What was your initial fire starter to get you into it?
Well, I saw one back when I was in grade school, so probably 20-some years ago. Back here in our wilderness, right here where we live. And I remember going back in there one time, and I saw one. I remember running all the way back home. I never told anybody.
Ooh.
Hmm.
I don't think I'd have told anybody either. Who would have believed you, being a kid? Who's going to believe you being a kid? Your imagination.
Yeah, we have people not believing us to this day. I mean, adults even cackle us and tease us still, and yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get that. Trust me, I get it a lot myself. It's and but the thing is, at the same time, they joke, make silly jokes and comments and stuff like that. But at the same time, they know how serious I am about it, and and I have a good time with their joking. I joke about stuff too, and but at the same time, they know I'm serious. And then again, you still have those, you're always gonna have that one or more that's gonna be the I guess you say the ugly unbeliever that wants to kind of throw you down or try to put you down, which and I think you got to look at them like this. They're uneducated. Now, maybe that's not the right way to put it, but they're like, they want people to prove it to them, but they're not willing to look and put the time in for themselves to see if something like that's true. I mean,
yeah, right.
Unless something accidentally happens or by some chance something walks out in front of them while they're walking or driving down the road or whatever it might be. But these are the kind of people that don't get out in the woods, put a lot of time in the woods, and some of these people not familiar with wildlife. Well, they'll claim that they are. Well, I'm out in the woods all the time. I don't see nothing because you're not looking for it. So there's it's just you got to have to be patient with some of these people, and I know it's aggravating. It can be aggravating. You just have to have patience with them. So yeah. Now here's something else that got brought up by user Flycatch. Has Bigfoot proven to exist? The answer is no. For those who claim to have an eyewitness encounter with these creatures, I envy you. Believing and proof are miles apart. I guess that's safe to say. I mean, they make some sense, yes. Believing in, in eyewitnesses encounters, yeah. Eyewitnesses is knowing, but yeah, having proof. They're right. To have the proper proof. That's something that we all want. We want the rest of the world to know. Now Corey and Ty, if you guys came across, I'm just throwing it out there at you. If you came across a body, and would you, for your own benefit or whatever purpose whatsoever, would you try to document that and collect evidence to maybe try to help prove that it's real?
Gosh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's something we often think about.
Good question.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Wow, Daniel.
Think of that.
I don't think so. I wouldn't want to. I don't know.
I don't want to jeopardize their
being here.
Yeah. I understand that. I honestly, I think I have to agree with you. So.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Millions of people go to church every Sunday, me myself included, and we worship a God we have never seen, only in a book. But yet you have thousands of people that have seen this creature, and yet we're still laughed at for believing in what people have actually seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's kind of weird. It's really weird.
Yeah. Now, I was a believer before I was a knower, of course. But the thing is, I became a knower not from an encounter or a sighting, but it was from the dedicated time and the research I was putting in and finding what I was finding that's deep in the woods, that where I was able to myself, I was able to rule out the known, versus something that's a mystery to a lot of us, So, I mean, Um, so yeah, but hold on. There was something else I was going to present. Something else I was going to ask. I kind of lost my train of thought because I have my notes here. Yeah, I didn't mean to kind of throw in an odd question. The kind of, you know. Now, here's a question. Do you guys have because we're running down on time. There is one question. Now, do you guys have your own Facebook group where people could come see strictly all your findings, or is that something you just kind of share openly publicly with the rest of social media?
No, we don't have any kind of group, but we've been talking about it. We've been thinking about doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing with groups, sometimes could be a pain in the butt. If you want to, because like me, I try to share stuff. I share stuff on my main timeline, and I do it openly because I got non-believers and skeptics on my timeline. On my friends list. So I present myself openly to everybody. I don't hide nothing. And then of course I'll take it from there. Then I'll share it into my groups and everything, which but yeah, I find it easier to do that way. Sometimes if it depends on what the subject of the post is or whatever, I might share it directly to the group, but I share things openly for, one good reason is because if skeptics and non-believers do see what I present and share, I welcome their questions. I welcome their input, because I'm not afraid to approach a skeptic on their point of view on, the findings I get, because I think we need that. Because I got one particular friend in general who is very objective to a lot of things, and they've actually gotten a little, I guess, I don't know if impressed is the right way, but yeah, I don't know about being impressed is the right way, but they were amazed by some of, or puzzled by some of the stuff I presented to them. Because like many of us here in the Bigfoot community, we strive to present what we have, and even to other believers and everything, it gets ridiculous where no one wants to believe it. Of course, some of it's a little bizarre and out of this world kind of stuff, which that's understandable. But I mean, do you guys ever have problems, presenting and sharing your information?
Not too much. No.
Well, that's good. That's good. People are more, perhaps you're dealing with more respectful people, or maybe understanding. Yeah, maybe more understanding, I guess you could say. So.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean leaving you out. I just had a couple things on my mind I wanted to throw out there for them.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I just want y'all to follow your hearts and do what y'all think is right. Believe me, if I could be going in my woods every day and having a tea party with 4 or 5 of these things, and I wouldn't tell a soul because I'd be scared that some idiot would want to come in here and try to kill them or do something. And I don't want that. I don't want these things hurt. If they're not a threat to us, we don't need to be a threat to them. If you have a rogue out killing somebody and attacking somebody, like anything like a bear, it has to be dealt with. I understand that. An animal's an animal. But if you have a clan of them and they're not hurting anybody and they're minding their own business, then there's no need for anybody to want to have to go in there and kill something just to prove it exists.
Right.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's just my feeling on it.
Yeah. I do want to throw something out there that there is one question that you addressed earlier by actually making something you stated about because there is a question that was asked. I guess the viewer might have jumped on a little later, but she was asking about, do you carry a weapon? And of course, you had already addressed that, and I just wanted to let Cindy know that you do not. So.
Nope. Never do.
Nope.
We don't even carry mace. We don't take anything.
Oh. So not even like a heavy duty walking stick or baseball bat?
No. No.
Oh. Okay. Huh.
Tell me something, if you don't mind me asking. Do you all, by chance, do wood knocks or do you all do whoops or anything to try to get their attention?
Yeah, we would knock a lot, and I get them to respond to my whoop calls that I do, and they respond right away.
Oh,
wow. Okay, well, that's good.
Very awesome.
exciting.
I'm leery of that because I don't know. In my opinion, you don't know what you're saying to them. But if you're getting a response and it's not aggressive, then go with what you're doing. That's great.
Right. What works for you, keep doing it. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, all right. Here is a good question. Actually, I got two questions. Here's two good questions, and we got around 10 minutes left. Nikki's asking, do you consider yourselves habituators, and do you feed them?
Yeah, you could say we're habituators, and we do feed them.
Yeah, we do feed them.
Okay.
We give them apples, peaches, bananas. I even take trinkets and hang up,
Okay.
We got one that's a trickster.
Oh, yeah?
He likes to with us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, do you ever try to... I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
We've had them come within 10 feet from us.
Wow. Now, what about trail cameras? What's your belief in using trail cameras?
We don't put up kind of
Oh,
cameras.
you don't?
No, no.
Oh.
That's all part of gaining the trust. We don't want to go there yet, anyway.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people believe using trail cameras that they could see the infrared out of the trail cameras, which I think that's some people say they turn that into a fact, which that's only opinion, speculation, which it's a possibility. Maybe they do. I think a lot of animals see the infrared in the cameras, but now one thing they got to consider is not all trail cameras use infrared either. So like mine have mine don't use infrared. I have the one trail camera I do have is it's a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question from Baltimore. Have you tried? Have you tried rattling deer horns? That's an interesting one.
No, we haven't tried that.
No.
Yeah, because I never. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of people believe that they come around there. They come around and go where the deers are. Where the deer are. So.
Yeah.
It's
right,
funny he asked that question because when I deer hunt, my son and I rattle. We rattle.
Right.
I have a set of horns that I rattle, and we have heard what it was, and it would go off, but we never saw what it was. We always thought a deer was coming in and got spooked.
Huh.
Never thought about that.
Wow. Huh. That is interesting. Something to keep in mind and
I didn't mean to
think
interrupt
about.
you. It just clicked something when you asked that question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No. No, I was finding that interesting. Yeah, that was interesting what you were sharing. That's something to think about.
Never
for
thought
real.
about that before.
Yeah, I haven't either. Wow. All right, now Nikki's actually replying to your statement as far as the habituation, as far as the feeding them. Now this is something to consider too, because as far as feeding, putting food out in the wild. Basically you're asking for trouble. Like for example, she goes on to say the minute you don't have their treats, they are going to turn on you, and then she said plus not carrying protection, it's not safe. Then Flycatch goes on to say the worst thing you can do is feed them because when you stop, they'll start killing your pets and livestock. Which all that's something to really to take into consideration. I mean, I think they kind of they make a point. But now as far as presenting gifts and everything, because I did a study, not really a study, but more of a presentation on my opinion on, habituating as far as people leaving gifts versus food, which, I think the gift thing, my opinion, I think the gift thing is very experimental. And, and if no one's going into those areas where you're leaving the gifts, and then to kind of interact to see what's going on, observing those changes, if anything's being picked up or replaced, such as that, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to continue to use food, just definitely have caution. Take caution doing that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cindy was saying that she heard you say that you don't take or carry a weapon, but she was more or less asking if after your encounter, your close encounter, if that might have changed after that, if you started carrying a weapon after that situation. That's why she was asking that.
Yeah, so. No weapons.
No weapons.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. All right. And let's see. Okay. Baltimore says if you feed deer, she said that's their food. So, which yeah.
Yeah.
Because squatches. I believe they do run deer. I've heard that. A lot of people. Some people come. They actually claim to come forward and actually witness them carrying deer off. Well.
Yeah, I've read it too.
They do.
Now that's something I'll bring up. That's something when we had an encounter back in 2014. It's something that we discussed. When we were trying to debunk the situation after it's all happened. We actually, after everything calmed down, we were actually trying to think. Well, prior to having our encounter, we did see a deer on the other side of the road. The deer are all through that area. So the thing is, we were questioning. That's the question that came up. Were they running deer or were they stalking deer? I mean, that's something we thought about. And because where we had our encounter, that's where I get a lot of my activity right there. So, yeah, that's something interesting. If you're gonna feed their deer, hey, you're fattening them up. It's like fattening up the fatted calf before it's going off to the butcher shop. So
yeah.
See, hold on, I'm trying to read something else. Considering that. Oh, okay. I was just reading what Cindy was going on to say, because she said, considering that they said that they thought the Squatch was up to no good, she said, I was just wondering. So, well, that's cool. Huh.
Yeah.
Steve, we got a few minutes left for them till we go into our next session. Do you have any other questions you want to throw out there for them?
Anything coming up that y'all want to bring up or talk about, or anything special, or?
We don't know yet. We'll have to let you know.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if y'all had any. Hey, do you travel out of state much, or you just pretty much do research local there?
Just local.
You stay local right there in Iowa.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I didn't know if you traveled much, or there's some people that do some die-hard traveling. They go all over the place and
yeah, if you can afford it, go for it.
Yeah, really.
Well, here's another question before we go. Now, the area you guys cover and research, how large is that area as far as the terrain?
How many
and
acres
everything?
is that? Over
40,000 acres.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's really no need to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Up and down the street.
No doubt.
Wow, that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
is that considered some form of, is that a national forest or some kind of state forest area?
State forest and state park and some wildlife areas.
Very awesome. Oh, okay. Yeah, because a lot of my areas I consider is all part. A lot of the areas I do a lot of research and scouting around, and it's all part of a national forest. Here in the state of Virginia, our national forest is over 130,000 acres, running from Northern
Wow.
Virginia down to the southwest parts of Virginia, which is a long ways, and that's not including the other mountains that run from all the way down to North South Carolina. You got the Blue Ridge Mountains that run right through here. They're right in my backyard, so which is so it's a very vast area here and surrounded by nothing but forest here in the valley. Excuse me. But I tell you what, I definitely keep on sharing your information and your input. Real quick, I want to ask Corey, are you on social media, like Facebook or anything?
Yep. I'm on Facebook.
Are you? Okay. Well, if I'm not on your friends list, I'll have to look you up and either you send me one or I'll send you one, vice versa, whatever. Okay. I want to thank you guys very much for coming on. I'm glad we finally got this to go on. This happened. Perhaps in the future we'll have to have you guys back again. Sometimes we like to have open discussions and just talk about various topics and get into everything, which we're getting ready to get into now. In the next 5-10 minutes. But our time's about running out. And I want to thank you guys again for being here. If you haven't, found them on Facebook, Ty Chapman and Corey Holden. Now Holden, that's Holden.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, awesome. So yeah, definitely check them out. And if you have any other further questions for the two of them, you can find them on Facebook. And I want to thank them for being on and sharing their research and their encounters and stories with us. It was very awesome. I loved hearing it because it actually put me, I imagine myself in the situation. I like being in that situation. So thank you guys very much. And definitely come back and see us again.
Thank you, Daniel, for having us on.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It was an honor. It was an honor talking to you both.
Absolutely.
You
too. Absolutely. All right, we'll come back again now.
We will.
We will.
All right, thank you guys again. All right, everybody, we're back. We're back with Squatch Zone Radio. Steve, what do you think about that crazy little mix I threw in there for the intermission?
It was a crazy mix, bro. It was crazy.
I'll get it. I'll come up with something better later. Hey, if you come up with something, email me. I'll download it. Oh man. All right. This one here, we're gonna get into some discussions on a few different topics here. I have a young lady on the line here. I've been wanting to talk with her. She shared a lot of information publicly on Facebook and social media. She's going to be a part of this discussion. It's not including anyone else that might call in to ask a question or on the live chat. There's a few things we're going to get into here. Meanwhile, let me bring in Miss Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer, you're live with us. What's going on?
Not much. Just got all the little mini-me's down for bed, so I think I'd give you a call.
Awesome. I'm glad you could join us. I'm glad it worked out for you to get on here. So, yeah, 'cause you forgot about us last time. You fell asleep or something.
I know. I'm horrible.
It's all good. Oh man, yeah. In this session here, we're just gonna get into a few things and just keep it simple and kind of go from there. Get everybody's input and because there's a few things that were presented to me because I asked. I made a public post on my timeline, just asking about a few different things that people want to hear about, and there was some good questions. I think it'll take us into the rest of the show to kind of go through them. There's only a few of them, but. One thing I do want to mention, and I told her I would kind of bring it up. I think, people who put trail cameras out there, and it's one thing I always worry about, will somebody find it and mess with it? Well, Miss Donna Hamrick, she has a trail camera that she has right on her property overlooking her chicken coop. where she's been trying to find the culprit who's been snatching chickens, which she did find one. I think she said it was a raccoon or some kind of. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. But she leaves it out there, and she posted footage of it earlier today, and yes, I looked at it a couple different times. I watched it earlier, and I meant to listen to it again because she wanted me to hear the audio because she said somebody tampered with it, and you could hear them walking away. And she said what they did, they erased the SD card, or tried to anyway. Because at first, when I was first watching it, I was like, you see the bugs flying around, but then at the same time, it looked like there was something crawling on it, like maybe a bug, beetle, spider. I mean, I've had stuff like that happen on my trail cameras before. But yeah, at one point, if you watch very closely, I do believe there was you could see like an index finger or a finger on the picture screen on the screen that for a split second. But
oh, wow.
yeah, it would have been awesome if it was a Squatch, but yeah, most likely she had somebody trying to tamper with her, that came onto her property over in West Virginia, which I think that was messed up, though. Steve, have you seen that she posted earlier?
Yeah, I talked to her about it.
Yeah. Did she say any more about it?
I told her not to get mad at me. Only thing, I saw the spider web. The spider web looked like the door opened up, and there's whiskers. I don't know, man. What she needs to do is what I do. When I put a trail cam up, I put another one up facing it, so both of them are looking at each other. So
yeah, that's
whatever message is one, you're going to catch with the other.
Right. Exactly. That's I kind of said something similar to her, but I mean, that's what I thought, because I could have sworn I seen a spider in there, because I was like, that's why I said, what do you think, Steve? And I don't want no one getting upset, because if I'm trying to be honest about what I'm thinking or seeing, you know what I mean? Like what you said, you don't want her to get mad, but I've had all kinds of bugs and crazy stuff all over my trail cameras before, but I don't know. What about you, Jen? I don't know if you. I never heard you mention if you.
I've tried the trail cameras before. It was very short-lived.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, I've kind of always, I've had different people guiding me through this as I've gotten into it the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years. So I've heard lots of different opinions about the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And one that I've heard a lot is, they know when you're putting those up. And a lot of times they say that, if you've already, kind of established an area, that it'll kind of, they'll back away from you.
Right.
Now I've heard that. I've never really tinkered around with it because, my thought was, why take the chance? What if that is true?
Right.
Now, like I said, I have done it before, and I got all excited and everything because I had put it up in an area where I knew, just a few other people came around, but not many. Well, the one picture that I got all excited over, and it turns out it was for no reason, was somebody on a four-wheeler driving past. Well, in the picture, since they were steadily moving across the screen, it looked like I was seeing a Bigfoot from the back. Well, after about 10 minutes of looking at it, I finally realized what it was.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the last time I tinkered with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, that wasn't the reason why I didn't put it back out again. It's just that, like I said, I've had lots of people giving me insights from, many different angles.
Right. And sometimes that's how we learn, sometimes gathering different point of views and different theories on everything.
Right.
And then eventually you're going to find your own way where you feel comfortable or something that works for you. And, the best thing I would say is if you go along with something that you feel that might work and just try to be persistent with it. You know, I'm always
Now, one
worried.
thing I have done kind of different. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
One thing that I have done that is a little bit different, and I did have a lot of success with, was I had an old iPhone 6, and I would leave it outside every night on the voice record mode. I would put it out every night at about 10:30, 11 o'clock, go get it every morning around 9 or 10. I had so many recordings on there. I heard, numerous knocks, numerous whoops. I mean, you could hear, stuff walking through there, cracking limbs on the ground. I had a lot of success doing that.
Mm. Now, was most of this taking place down and around Georgia?
No.
Excuse me, Louisiana.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in Louisiana all my life except for the 2 weeks that I moved to Georgia.
Right. Okay. Now, I know you've been experimenting in the Georgia area, checking out, the property and the surrounding area. Have you come across anything yet, or it's still kind of quiet right now, or?
Well, I mean, it's not really that I've, let's say, experimented. I've went on vacation to Georgia twice since last November. And, I mean, we weren't there too incredibly long, about a week.
Right.
But I do know that the second cabin I went to on the first vacation last November, we had got two different cabins. One cabin for the first 3 days and another cabin for the next 3 days. And the first one was in Tennessee. Well, the second one was in Georgia. And at that cabin, we 2 out of 3 days, nights we were there, we were hearing stuff outside. I know we heard, it was either 1 or 2 pretty good tree knocks. And there was one of the times, now I can't be sure, but it kind of looked like I might have seen something walk past. Now, I mean, my eyes are horrible, so I wouldn't ever put too much faith into that. But, I mean, just for, 2 seconds, I could have swore I seen something walk past. But, I mean, other than a couple of knocks, that was kind of the most that we heard.
Interesting. I'm going to jump in there real quick. We have another call that's in here right now, and I do believe this is Miss J. Bly Bird. We're going to hear, she wants to share a encounter, or actually not encounter. This is actually coming from Teddy Roosevelt's Bigfoot journal. Well, not Bigfoot journal, but it's coming from his journal, and this is in regards to his story. So I'm going to bring her in here, and we're going to hear her and let her speak on that real quick.
Okay.
Hello, this is Squatch on Radio. You're now live. Welcome.
Hi, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. We all do.
Okay. It's actually not about Teddy Roosevelt. It's about another fellow. But
you changed it up on me.
It's just as good. I know I changed it on you. It's not
a problem.
And I did because I'm kind of nervous. I went ahead and just recorded it. I read it from an article. So you can't really interrupt. If you needed to interrupt me, it's a recording. So I know
not
it's supposed
to
be live. But anyway, just so you know. So let's give it a shot. All right?
Okay. Let's go for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to take an excerpt from an article from MysteriousUniverse.org, and this is about a 19th century Bigfoot journal. I'm just going to read it. It's pretty interesting. In the cold winter of 1811, a man named David Thompson crossed the Rocky Mountains, specifically in the vicinity of Jasper, Alberta. As he did so, Thompson came across, in the snow, a line of very strange footprints. They were curious indeed, to the extent that Thompson could only rationalize them in terms of a grizzled bear. His Native American contacts, however, believed the tracks to have been made by nothing less than a still-living mammoth. A careful study of Thompson's very own words strongly suggests that the culprit may have been a full-grown Bigfoot. And of course, if that was the case, then the affair was a deeply significant one, since it demonstrates that discoveries of large, unidentified prints in the U.S. are not exclusive to relatively recent years or decades. On the mammoth theory, Thompson noted, I questioned several Indians. None could positively say they have seen him, but their belief I found firm and not to be shaken. I remarked to them that such an enormous heavy animal must leave indelible marks of his feet and his feeding. This they all acknowledged, and that had never seen any marks of him, and therefore could show me none. All I could say was not shaken with their belief in its existence. Just a couple of days later, continuing our journey, in the afternoon, we came on the track of a large animal, the snow about 6 inches deep on the ice. I measured it, 4 large toes, each of 4 inches in length, to each a short claw. The ball of the foot sunk 3 inches lower than the toes. The hinder part of the foot did not mark well, the length 14 inches, by 8 inches in breadth, walking from north to south, and having passed about 6 hours. We were in no humor to follow him. The men and Indians would have it to be a young mammoth, and I held it to be the track of a large, old, grizzled bear. Yet the shortness of the nails, the ball on the foot, and its great size was not that of a bear. Otherwise, that of a very large, old bear, his claws worn away. This the Indians would not allow. It's notable that this is not the only occasion in the 19th century that a traveler thought to chronicle such a strange experience in his journal. In March of 1847, an artist named Paul Kane did that too. Kane started when we arrived at the mouth of the Catapoodle River, 26 miles from Vancouver, Washington. I stopped to make a sketch of the volcano Mount St. Helens, distant, I suppose, about 30 or 40 miles. This mountain has never been visited by either whites or Indians. The latter assert that it is inhabited by a race of beings of a different species who are cannibals and whom they hold in great dread. These superstitions are taken from the statement of a man who, they say, went into the mountain with another and escaped the fate of his companion, who was eaten by the Skukums, or evil genii. I offered a considerable bribe to any Indian who would accompany me in its exploration, but could not find one hardy enough to venture there. Although Kane did not allude to the face of the beings as being huge, hairy apes, it's important to note that Mount St. Helens has a long and fascinating history of Bigfoot encounters. In that sense, at least a tentative argument can be made that the mountain-dwelling cannibals that the Native Americans so greatly feared amounted to a colony of Bigfoot, perhaps. Thanks, Daniel, for having me on, and I hope everyone enjoyed this.
So.
Wow, that was actually, that was pretty good.
Did you like it?
Yeah, that was actually very good. I like that.
It was just kind of interesting. You know.
What's that, Steve?
I love the proof right there that not all Indians show that them to be peace-loving people of the forest. Right there, it showed them to be apes and violent cannibals.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder about that because, I read a lot of things. I like to go in and read old information, and I just wonder if it's like races of people or groups of races of people or rogue groups within races of people. Could it be the same with them, that they have some that are just nasty gangs and some that are not and friendly? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, but I read these opposite ends of the spectrum about temperament and different things. I don't know.
Well, let me ask this because it was how the Indians were referring to them as a possible cannibalistic. What region or what part of the country was this? Did it have mention the area?
This was
the region?
Yes. This was near Mount St. Helens. This was up in Oregon, not too far from Portland.
Okay. Okay, because the reason I asked that, because I know of one other specific Indian tribe, the native, the Micmac Indian tribes, which runs deep in my bloodline, which they originated out of Canada and also in the state of Maine here in the United States. Now their legend, right, and their legend is they have different dialects for the name. What's the Gugwe, Gaujus, and so forth. And they describe a very large. Of course, they describe it as female, a large I think it's about 9 to 10 foot tall, hairy,
oh my God,
cannibalistic being. Which that's the legend behind their Bigfoot. And of course, the story was he used to snatch up, kidnap, and snatch young children and other women, smaller, and of course they said cannibalistic, which I thought that was interesting because I know there's other stories of them being described as cannibalistic in other areas, but I found that fascinating to hear that was here in the country, besides the one that I read up on. So.
Well, so I mean, now that I've read this article, I want to research further about Mount St. Helens because it said that Mount St. Helens has its own whole history, so to speak. And I got this from. I listened to. It's a Mysterious Universe. I listen to these podcasts, and they're hilarious. These two Australian guys, and they said that in Australia, nobody listens to them, but over here, everybody listens to them. But they talk about their entertainment, truly. But they talk about they'll go and they'll cite all sorts of articles and they'll read things, and they'll talk about Sasquatch now and then. And of course, they get silly about it, but then they'll come back around and they'll cite websites and newspaper articles, and they vet their information, and which I really like. But this Mysterious Universe is pretty cool. But that's where I happened to find this article.
Well, that's very good. That's how we like to be. I mean, we try to present it.
That area that you just read about.
What's this? Come again on that again, Steve. You were breaking up a little bit there.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, the area that you just read about, the place where the thing was the cabin that they got attacked. The miners were.
The miners.
Now, forgive me, but over in St. Helens, isn't that also the location where, this might be... I'm sorry.
That's where the big volcano hit back in the 80s, I think. But before all that, I don't really know a lot about it. I mean, I need to study up. I went there actually once.
I do believe that's the location where it was called over at Mount St. Helens. There's another Bigfoot encounter there, and more in present times. I shouldn't say present times, but back probably during the 40s or 50s, where I believe it was called the attack on St. Helens. It was supposedly a cabin was assaulted by Sasquatches. I'm sure maybe some of you guys might be familiar with that or heard it somewhere along the lines. I know I never really got into looking into the whole thing myself.
Did they survive, or were they all killed? I'm trying to think. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, they survived.
Okay, I might have heard it too. But so you guys like hearing that kind of stuff? Just go back and find stuff and just here and there. You like that? You want me to keep doing that?
Yeah. That's pretty good. If you could fish up more information, old documentaries, the old stuff would be great to hear what's documented.
Yeah, isn't that kind of cool though? Well, I think, just to throw my opinion in, I think that when you can go back and pull newspaper articles, or the journaling, I kind of like because it's like if someone called you up and said, I need you to come and do an investigation, and you're going to ask them all these questions, and they're going to tell you their story. Well, that's kind of what these journals are doing. They're telling their story, and their use of English is a little different, but they're telling their story. and what they saw. I mean, he was specific, you know. He said the toes were 4 inches long and the breadth of the foot was, 8 inches wide and 14 inches. I mean, that's huge. And that the heel sunk in 3 inches deeper than the rest of the foot and all kinds of stuff. So, and that's the kind of stuff y'all do, right?
Oh, yeah.
With your casts and things. I mean, he was kind of scientific about it. So I'll look up the Teddy one. I wanted to find a little better information on Teddy Roosevelt, but I had heard that he came across something somewhere. So, well, thank you very much for having me on. I need to let y'all go, but I'm enjoying your show. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you again for coming on. I look forward to the next episode. You know.
All righty.
Awesome.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thanks again. All right, Shaky, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just checking because, yeah, I hear you fine now. You were breaking up a little bit there a little while ago. So I heard you trying to jump in and say something. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Was to be.
Okay. Hey, Jen, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Still hanging.
Okay, I just checking. I forgot both of y'all's names, Jen.
Oh, we are? Oh, that's funny.
Oh, Lord.
One's in Louisiana, one's in West Virginia.
What are the odds? I'm going to go back and listen to you on Facebook. I'm going to go back that way, so I'm going to hang up. Good night.
All right. Good night. I should have referred to her as J. Bly. On Facebook, she goes by J. Bly Bird. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was interesting. I think I do like hearing stuff like that. I think that'd be a good addition to the show. You know, for her to jump in and, you know, if she wants to record it, because she did mention earlier when we were trying to, you know, work on something to present for her to jump in and present. She was like, I don't know, I'm too shy to talk on it. I said, it's just like talking on the phone. I said, you know, so I guess she don't talk on the phone that much. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, but you know, we were talking about the game cameras and everything. You know, which I'll say one more thing about that if you guys want to throw something in there after this. But you know, like I said, every time I put a trail camera out there, one of the things I always think about, because I know if I'm going into these areas and you think you're in pretty deep and you're in the vast thick woods, you know, and where you're placing a trail camera, you think no one else is going to find it because, well, no one else comes here. Well, if you're there, well, why not, you know, rule out other people coming through that area? So I always got to have that thought that I'm always worried about me approaching the area when I go to check my trail camera, like I might do this weekend, because my trail camera's been out for a week now, and I always worry when I go out there to look for it, is it still going to be there? Because this actually happened not long ago from Mr. Harlan, young new upcoming researcher in Bigfoot enthusiast, which he's actually located here in Northwest Virginia. And he said he's placed his trail cameras, and you know he's actually had them stolen, which that's sad that people got to do that.
Well, you know, I mean, either way, if they're stolen or, you know, if a big guy happens to get a hold of one, they do have the ones now where they are trackable. I mean, when I say trackable, it can lead you right into whoever took its front yard.
Wow.
And from what I understand, they're not that expensive.
Huh. Just curious, are you familiar with what the brand or the type they are?
I have a guy on my page. You'll go look him up on Facebook. It's called Southern Boys Outdoors. I think it's BOYZ.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he actually talks about him quite a lot. I think it's called Spy Point.
Okay. Must be a new kind of. Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, I'd bring you right up to the front door.
Right. Well, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, because yeah, that's one thing I always try to consider when I get trail cameras or looking to get a new one. I want to know all right, like right now I only have 2 trail cameras. My my cheap one. It's made by Moultrie. It's a Moultrie Model D5, and I'm happy. I'm content with it. It produces good, clear images. I've gotten a lot of wildlife off of it.
Right.
Of course, that poor trail camera's been through some heck. Now, one time I approached the area where I had it in one time, and I'm looking in the distance where I had it on the tree. I said, "What in the world is that?" I see something shining. I said, shining in the location where my trail camera was. So what the heck is that? And I get closer. It's the batteries. The face of the door, the door on the trail camera was ripped open, and it was probably hanging down off the tree about almost a foot. I said, "What in the world?" I had it up a good 6 feet high, but I said, "Man," my heart was thumping. I said, I was thinking about a bear because that's the first thing I thought about, a bear. And I'm looking around in the area, and I had a shotgun with me anyway. It was during hunting season, so I was like, "Where are you? Did this just happen?" That's all the thoughts that were running through my head. So, but yeah, I was able to fix up the broken part on the bed. The only thing that really got broken on that was the little latch where the strap goes through on the back part of the trail camera. So I was able to rig something up to fix something for that. Of course, after viewing my footage on it, I was like, okay, I had a small young coyote on there, a few deer, and then I had some young bear cubs. So after seeing the bear cubs, I had this blurry image on there. I said, what the heck is that? And the only thing I could think of, it had to been either one of those small bear cubs did it, or a mama bear was nearby and saw it, and it pissed her off.
Right.
So that's the only thing I could think of. I didn't see no claw marks or nothing on that tree, but apparently it got a hold of that trail camera and yanked it and snapped that back, latch off. So.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, mine just sits over here. It's got the video and the still picture mode. Got mine from Walmart. It's just sitting in my truck.
Oh, okay. Well, just curious, what brand do you use?
If I tried to tell you the brand, I'd probably be lying.
No, it's okay.
I don't even know. All I know is it's camouflage looking, but that describes about 99% of them.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the one I got, it's the cheap one I got, it's called Moultrie, and it's I think it's 5. What is it? What the heck is it? It has a 60-foot range on it. It uses regular infrared. Now my small one, which is my real good camera, it's made by Browning. I'm impressed with that thing. It has a much longer range. It's a 70-foot range of view. It has high-def video recording on it, and of course the pictures. But now with a high-def video setting on it, this is what I like about it. It has audio. It records audio. Now, if there's something in the area and if it starts producing noise, it'll start recording before it sees something, as long as there's noise or anything. I didn't know that till like a little over a year ago during a hunting season. I was checking my trail camera through my computer, and I was like, all right, I hear something. I hear something walking, but I don't see nothing. And next thing you know, here comes a deer. And then later on, I hear footsteps again in another scene. And it was probably after about 9:30 at night. And here comes a hunter walking through the woods. I was like, okay. Well, at least that's what I found impressive about it. You can hear the footsteps coming from so many feet away until something walks by. And plus, it does not use infrared. It has an invisible flash. I forget the type of technology in this one here uses a certain kind of, I forget, I'll have to look at it.
I couldn't even tell you what mine uses. I don't even remember the specs. All I remember is I think I bought it for $70 or $80 at Walmart.
Yeah, that's about what that's about the price I paid for my cheap one. Yeah, when I say cheap, doesn't mean it's like cheap as garbage. They're all good.
Right.
I mean, but it's just my other one was almost $200. So yeah, but as far as trail cam uses, there's all kinds of theories about them. But my thing is, I think if we're consistent, and just stay on top of it, I mean, regardless if we get squatches or not, I think if we start observing the wildlife, I think that's very important to understand what's in those areas, So, I I think you down in Louisiana, I think if you keep yours low enough, you might have yours, in the belly of an alligator or something. Depends where you are.
Dude, I wouldn't put it past it out here. And right now, strange you mentioned, because right now it's been raining the past 2 days straight.
Yeah.
So right now a lot of people are really flooded around here.
Oh my.
And it's the rivers haven't even crested yet. I think my mama said earlier they're gonna crest. I think she said Sunday morning or something. Which I thought it was every day, but according to Mom, guess not. But just earlier, trying to get in and out, I probably had a good 7-8 inches. I've got a F-150, so it was right underneath the little step. I don't remember what you call that.
Right.
The little step, on the truck.
Yes,
it was right underneath that. Trying to get in and out of the roads around here. Went and looked at the river, and it was up to 19 feet already.
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you recall there was a track? I want to say it was at least a couple of years ago. You had it posted on Facebook. You were trying to identify it, and
we never did figure out what that was.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was that had to been an alligator track. It had to been.
Well, no, because there aren't alligators right there.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Around here, I've lived here, like I said, my whole life. I know the ins and outs. I know where everything is. Now as far as gators, they're going to stay in the swamp area. Now, right there, that's my actual area. That's where I've learned a lot from the past 2 or 3 years. And there's no swampland right there.
Right.
Now, probably about 20 miles away, you'd probably find swampland.
Now, here's something else I just thought about. Now, you got to forgive my ignorance on geography. All right, Arkansas, that's like northwest of you, Louisiana, or I'm trying to think of it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's a theory. Now, we all know the legend of the Falk monster from Falk, Arkansas. Now, it was said that Sasquatch was a 3-toed Sasquatch. Now, it's funny because I remember, that picture appeared to have almost just 3 toes.
I know they found, they have a place called Honey Island Swamp. Now, a lot of people have heard of it. It's in a place called Slidell, Louisiana, which is right on the Mississippi and Louisiana line. And that's if you're coming in from Mobile or Biloxi in that area. Now, Honey Island Swamp is right there, and they said that they've found, I don't remember if they said that it was spotted or if they had pictures or a cast or something, but they had evidence of a 3-toed Bigfoot over there, and from what I understand, when they find something with less than 5 toes, they kind of lean towards incest.
Ah, I got you.
Because the very few tracks that I have actually seen over here, they did have 5 toes. So not everyone, not all of the Bigfoots are incest, but, if that is even, true.
Right.
But,
well, you also got to think it could have got bit on the foot by a poisonous snake and lost 2 toes.
Right, could have lost the toe, who knows?
Could have got bit by an alligator and got 2 of them bit off by an alligator.
That's right.
It's
them gators are pretty ruthless around here.
Yeah, you're in the swamp there. I'm telling you, anything's possible in them swamps.
Yeah, that's true. It says the swamps hold a lot of mystery, regardless.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Let's see. All right, there was something else I was gonna jump into. One of the other things that it was asked about, and I wanted to get everyone's opinion. What's your thoughts on a Squatch's diet? As far as what do you believe they eat?
My thoughts?
Yeah, we can start off with you, Jen.
I would say they would probably require a lot of, actual meat. Just to kind of get that protein in there. I mean, they're not little creatures. I'm sure they need a lot to eat. Now I've heard all kinds of different things from blueberries to apples to just numerous different things. But I mean, as far as down here, I really wouldn't know. I'm sure deer is at the top of the menu. We've got wild hogs down here. I have heard stories about them killing gators. The story on which I don't remember detail for detail, but the one part I do remember is hearing that it had popped the top of the gator's mouth all the way back to its head. And that was dinner.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some strength right there. 'Cause, a gator's jaws are like.
Yeah,
they're
so like thousands of pounds of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's like, man.
And actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that story came out of Honey Island Swamp.
Oh, really?
And I mean, they've got some really creepy tales that come out of there. A lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, because see, I'm not familiar with down that area, but as far as the trees and type of forests and stuff down here, what are the most common kind of trees in a lot of the forests down there? I mean, I'm sure you got oaks and maples, maybe in a lot of the
right.
forests.
I mean, we've got the normal type of stuff, but let's say around in a swamp, you're going to find a lot of cypress trees.
Right.
Definitely a lot of cypress. And I mean, just like the regular, we don't have anything too fancy down here. We've got the magnolia trees, which everyone loves those. I don't think you really find that in the forest, though. But I mean, we've got a shit ton of pine trees. That's our main thing around here.
Yeah. Well, up here, I mean, I don't know, maybe, Steve might have, so I think it varies in certain areas. But one thing that's very famous up along, up this way, especially in our national forest, of course we have a lot of oaks and maples, but in some areas they're just the tall, thick, pines. And, and then we also have areas where mostly your oaks and maples are. You have a lot of the laurel brush. And then sometimes inside, mixed in your laurel, there is patches. I know in my area, there's patches of the, man, I'm going to get tongue-tied trying to say it because you just said it.
What is it?
The type of bushes or the trees you just mentioned. Every time I think about what to say.
Or magnolia.
No, magnolia. That's it. Magnolia. I'm sorry. I always get tongue-tied trying to think about how to say it. Because I always relate it. It's almost similar to a laurel brush. The laurel trees and stuff. Except it's much, the leaves are much bigger and the wood's a lot thicker and they got the pretty purple flowers. And so yeah, there is patches of them around here. Sometimes you find them on side of the, ridges and stuff like that. But yeah, some areas are thick with laurel brush, which I believe a lot of the bears, I know the bears like to, hover and maneuver inside them. And I believe, in a lot of cases that might be the case with squatches because even during the winter times when all the other leaves are gone, the laurel brush stays all year round, which provides cover, which that's something I try to consider and think about too, as far as the laurel brush. So that's pretty interesting. But Steve, I've seen pictures of your area. I mean, you got the mountains right behind you. You got a lot of oaks and it appears to be a lot of oaks and maples. But yeah, you have patches. I mean, you probably have a combination, a little bit of everything up there, don't you?
Well, we got a lot of laurel, a lot of pine. Yeah, a lot of hickory, a lot of oak. It's really blended in well.
Yeah.
I wish I would have remembered to take that picture. That post I made earlier. I think you had commented on it. about the tree that had fell down?
I think so. I'll have to double check.
Well, we were camping. This was just a couple of days ago. We were camping outside in the front yard.
Oh, that's right.
And,
yeah, you told me something about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a lot happening. I mean, everything from knocks to, I mean, just a lot of stuff. Well, as I had laid down in the tent, I was just dozing off. And, you know, kind of that light sleep where just before, you know, you're actually asleep. Well, I was just dozing off, and as soon as I started dozing, I heard something hit the tree, and I sat up straight because it actually scared the shit out of me. It wasn't that far from me. No sooner than I heard it hit the tree, I heard the tree come falling down. I'm like, oh my God! And I'm trying to wake, you know, my ex-husband up, and I said, you know, did you hear that? Oh, I didn't hear anything. I said, well, I thought you were supposed to stay awake. Well, I was awake. If you were awake, you would have heard that. Well, the next day we go look in the woods. Sure enough, probably about 100 feet from the tent to the wood line, and about 30 feet inside the wood line, there lies the tree. And then you could tell it was really fresh because, I mean, the leaves on there were still so bright green, and, I mean, you could just tell it was extremely fresh. Stupid me, well, I didn't have the phone on me, so I didn't take pictures, but I'm going to go outside tomorrow and take pictures of it.
Okay. Well, this is something that I wanted to bring up to you with this here, because, you know, before you guys lay down, you guys had, you know, I'm sure the kids were playing and everything, probably, you know, chattering, doing their thing.
Well, the kids had came out for a little bit, but they all decided they wanted to sleep inside.
Oh, okay.
So we stayed up as late as we could, and I mean, like I said, you know, he fell asleep before I did, so I gave him hell about that.
You could have, yeah, your life could have been in danger out there.
Ex-wife.
Well, I mean, what I was going to get at there, because, you know, I mean, even though the kids were inside, I believe their presence outside, and I've heard this from other people too, and I think a lot of people believe in this theory. I believe this may have some truth behind it. And not just kids, but I actually believe this kind of goes along with the presence of females. And this is something I kind of spoke on earlier, because there's areas I've been into on and off on my own, but when I brought my daughter in there, I don't know what it is, but it seems like it sets off a trigger. It seems like they go crazy.
It's strange you say that, because we camped out in the front yard for 2 nights in a row. The first night, me and one of my little girls, I want to say my son too. No, it was just one of my little girls. She stayed outside all night with me and her daddy. And that was the night that we had a ton of activity. Now, the second night was when Hannah decided to come inside that night. But the second night was when the tree fell over. Now, that first night, Justin said that while he was outside setting up the tent, all of the kids went outside with him.
Right.
He came back inside and he says, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" He said, "We just heard 2 growls."
Really?
I said, "Well, I guess I could have judged that by the way the kids come running in the house." He said, "Yeah, there was 2 growls." And no sooner than he said that, I was up and out the door. I was ready to go.
Wow.
And, I mean, that night we heard, I want to say, had to have been 2 or 3 knocks. I think it was just 2. I heard a good scream coming from in the woods. We kept hearing this weird bird that we've never heard before, and it was directly across from us.
How would you describe the sound?
Oh, God. I don't even think I could make the sound if I tried.
Yeah.
It was like a... I mean, it was crazy. I've never heard nothing like that.
Huh.
And
I don't know.
That was also the same night. Now, I mean, I know a lot of people have their different views on the whole, cloaking idea. And honestly, I've had, more doubt than anything about it. But that night, we were sitting a little bit closer to the road that night, and Justin went to stand up. Well, as he stood up, I'm like, no, sit down, because I could have swore I saw something walking towards me. And he's like, what? And I said, I think there's something walking. He says, I just seen something standing right there. He said, but it was like a grayish color. It was like looking at static. And I'm like, okay, what are the odds we both, see something strange kind of right in front of us that you can't really see?
Right.
And like I said, I know a lot of people have their doubts on that, but I mean, and like I said, I did too, but you couldn't have convinced either one of us any other way, that night.
Well, we have on the live chat, Baldemar Gelvin. He was one of our recent guests. Very awesome. He's a Native American, a resident of Texas. He was just sharing some information. Let me back up to the one. He's referring to some of their we're talking about their food and diet, and then he was kind of replying to a couple of things you said. But first of all, he was mentioning that he said they eat deer, wild hog, wild grains, nuts, and grasses. Also, he goes on to say, when you go to look at the tree again, try to examine it and look for hairs around the tree trunk. Okay. And he heard you make that that sound that you thought was a bird. He made a statement. He said that was not a bird. So that's
why I asked,
interesting.
was he sure it was a bird?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he said that was not a bird.
No, I wasn't too sure of what that was, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I tried to record it on my phone. I might have the recording of it.
Well, that would be cool if you do. That would definitely be cool if you do.
I'm pretty sure I do. I haven't went back to try to listen to it yet, so I'm not sure if you can hear it. But I'll, as soon as this is over, I'll go and try to listen to it.
Okay. Awesome.
I've heard of mimic owls, and I've heard of mimic crows here.
Well, that's one other thing, too. Justin said that he heard something talking. He said he couldn't make out what it was. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me? This was the next day. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that? He said, because I thought I was tripping. He said, but it kept happening. It kept happening. And he says, you always tell me I'm losing my mind, so I just didn't say nothing to you.
I'll tell you. Jan, I'll tell you what you got to do if you don't already have one. Go to Walmart and go in the electronics section. You can get one for about $35, maybe $40, but get a digital audio recorder. And I'll tell you what, use name brand, of course, use good batteries, name brand batteries. And I'll tell you what, leave it out in a location. I mean, the one I have is Olympus. They pick up long range. But put it in an area, maybe on the tree line somewhere, where it's kind of hidden, but where the on the end where the speaker's kind of exposed. Leave it out there for maybe a few days to a week. I'll tell you what, on a fresh set of batteries, mine's been out in storms and everything, and I mean it lasts a whole week out in bad weather. They're very durable devices, but I've gotten some great sounds, vocalizations. I've gotten owls.
One thing I've really been interested in getting, and maybe y'all could kind of point me in the right direction, I've been wanting to get one of the sound amplifiers.
Okay, yeah. The one
do they record?
They do, but you got there's certain ones that record longer than others. The one I use, the famous brand out there, is called the Uzi, which mine's not an Uzi brand, but it's the same thing, and I've had it for over 4 years, and it works great. It's it's a handheld. You pull the trigger, it's got the dish on the end, and you put your headphones or whatever into it to listen, and it's it does have a device where you could rig it up to where you put your headphones in. If you have the audio speaker, which has two male ends, one into the device and then one into your recorder, you could try that way. Sometimes it depends on the cable, the type of audio cable you're using.
Right. Now,
But sometimes
are they really pricey or?
no, you can get them as low as $25 to $40.
Oh, really? I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen them in Walmart or anything, so I probably have to go
No.
online.
Yeah, you got to go online. There's several sites that have them. You can go to Amazon, just type in parabolic microphones.
Okay.
Yeah, parabolic microphones, and you'll see the different ones. You want to get the handheld ones, unless you could afford a much pricier one. But all you need is a handheld one.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, they're about $35 to $40. Most average ones.
That's
So.
not too bad.
Yeah. Before we go off air, you guys sit tight for a second. We got 30 seconds left. Everybody, because it's still going to record, but we're going off air to the public. Everybody, just for the record, tune in August 19th. August 19th, we have the Squatch Man, Greg Yost from Kentucky. He will be our guest next Friday night, August 19th. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There we go. All right, we're actually off air now, but believe it or not, it's actually still recording. It actually records for up to 15, 20 minutes. So, but right now the viewers, the viewers can't hear us till I upload this later, and they can hear the rest of the conversation. So,
right.
But yeah. So I just want to throw that little announcement out there, even though, like I said, I'll probably make an announcement. I'll probably say it again, but yeah, there's all kinds of little gizmos and gadgets that are very affordable. I have a few that, I didn't buy all at once. One other thing I try to use too. Some hunters use them. It's let me think what the heck the name of it is. It is a thermal game heat seeker. They have
one.
Oh, do you? Awesome.
Oh yeah, I've got the Seek Thermal that hooks up to my iPhone.
Yeah.
I paid $299 for it. The best $300 I've ever spent in my life.
Oh yeah, not those kind of thermals. This is something different. It's it's not where you can see the images. It's where you can pick up heat signatures. It's actually a handheld device. A lot of
now.
What's that now?
Yeah. Well, she's got it. They make it for iPhones now, man. It's real. It works
it picks up heat signatures.
Into your iPhone. Yeah, it's really badass. It plugs into your iPhone. This thing plugs in the bottom of your iPhone and turns your iPhone into an actual heat-seeking camera.
Right.
Oh yeah, I got the Flora 1. Yeah, I got the one for my Android. I got the Flora 1, but yeah, I'm actually referring to something totally different. It's not a camera. Yeah, this one here has a laser on it, which you could use the laser, the infrared laser with or without it, or you could plug a set of headsets in. And if you're scanning the tree line, and if there's a heat signature in there, you'll see the bars light up. Basically, what it is, a lot of hunters use it. Like if they shoot an animal and the deer runs off, and they got to track that animal at nighttime, actually they use that to pick up the heat. As far as the thermal game cameras, like I have the Flora 1, like what you have, the Seek for your phone.
Right.
But because I know the Flora 1. I've had that probably about a little over a year now. Yeah, I think I paid $250 for mine. Yeah. Now the Flora, they actually. What's that?
I see y'all high tech.
Believe me when I say they don't really pick up what you want them to pick up.
Well, I've actually been pretty impressed with mine. I know this late past summer, when Greg Corbin, him and his son Kai, when we camped out up in this one area, I was doing some experimenting with it up there, and see where we were camped at. There's a location where you have to actually park your vehicle. The gate wasn't open, so we had to park our vehicles over a quarter mile away, and we had to travel and walk back and forth several times to bring our stuff down there, all gear and everything. Well, I think it was about 10 o'clock at night, one of the nights we were out there, and his son had to go get something in the car. He went up there, had his lights and everything, and on his way back, because right in front of our camp there was kind of an open field, and we saw him walking back, just from his light, and I yelled out to him. I said, Kai, turn your light off. I wanted to test this thing. I want to see how good the thing really is, considering there was an open field. And I tell you what, it actually, probably from over, I'm going to say it was well over 75 yards. And you could get the blimp of, the little blimp on the camera. It showed his image.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they work as far as that aspect. I'm just saying I've never picked up a Bigfoot with it.
Oh, well.
I can pick up anything else. I can find, the power lines, and, I could put my thumbprint on anything and move my thumb, and it'll still pick up the heat signature, but
yeah, that's what I found impressive.
Bought it for.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I know. That's what I did a lot of playing around and experimenting with it, because I did the same thing. I put my hand on a tree and held it there for about maybe 5-10 seconds, and then I removed my hand, and you could see the whole handprint on the tree, which was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. They are impressive little devices. So.
Yeah.
Now, I know the FLIR 1 for iPhones is actually cheaper for an iPhone versus an Android. Androids, for some reason, cost a lot more. Because, like I said, my phone's an Android. So, but yeah, I think they're like $150 for the iPhone for a FLIR 1. So, one of these days, I might try to upgrade to a little bit more powerful thermal, but I can't do that till like tax time.
Right.
Because yeah.
Yeah, they range up into like $5,000-$10,000.
Yeah,
for the
now they
really
do make.
Good ones.
Yeah, you can get one. The next step up from the FLIR 1, or like what you have, the Seek. They have the. Hold on, let me think if I could think of the name of it. I can't remember what it is. It costs $600. Is the next step up.
Right.
It is a mobile device. It's like.
While
what's
you're
that?
thinking, I need to jump here. I said, while you're thinking, I need to jump off here. I'm 2 hours behind taking my medicine, and it's
yeah.
time for me to go. So it was a pleasure meeting you, Jennifer. I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors when you're squatching, and Daniel, I'll talk to you probably tomorrow or next day or whenever.
All right, sounds good, man. Sounds good. I got a few things to take care of tomorrow, but I'll be around sometime in the evening. But yeah, me and my daughter got a movie date tomorrow, so.
Oh, there you go. Well, you all have a good night.
All right, you too, man. All right. So,
all right.
Take it easy, Steve. Yeah, if you're not friends with him on Facebook, you'll have to look him up. He goes by the name of Shaky Jr. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look him up.
Yeah, either that, I could tag you under a post that he's in. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'd probably be easier.
We'll see. What time is it your time? About 10 or 11? No, about 11.
11:07.
Okay, yeah, you're just an hour behind, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I kept thinking I don't know why, but I know the West Coast. I'm still trying to get used to the different time zones, because I know West Coast, they're 3 hours behind, so.
Right.
Yeah. But, yeah, shoot, you'll have to join us more often. We get into some, all kinds of random stuff we get into, all kinds of discussions and everything. Let's see. Yeah, there was a few other things I was going to actually address, but I'll do that when viewers could view. There's more things we get into, but so.
Let me know the next time you're coming on, and send me a message, and I'll call you. Absolutely.
I think what we're going to do, we're going to try to start doing this. Originally, I said every Friday at 11 Eastern time, which will be 10 your time. But I think what we're going to do is start doing, because my next show is Friday the 19th. And we always start off with a guest for the first part of the show. So, yeah, we have, his name's Greg Yost. He's originally from Kentucky, Right now, he's actually residing in the state of Indiana right now.
Okay.
Yeah, he shared some information. He's in a lot of Facebook groups, but he's never really gone public about a lot of stuff. He shared some stuff, but he wants to go. I asked him. I said, "Man, I could get you on my show," and that's when he told me he's like, "Oh, I never really gone public about anything," but he says, "Let's do it." All right. So yeah,
I
so this should
mean,
be
yeah.
interesting.
Anytime you want me to come on, I mean, I've got a lot of experiences that's happened, and consider I've only been doing this 2 to 3 years now. I've got a lot, that I've done, and a lot that I've experienced, and
Oh
so
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
short of actually seeing one full-fledged in the flesh. Now, when I say that, I mean, the most I've kind of seen is like a side profile view. I've
Right.
never seen one, head on. And I've never had anything thrown at me. Other than that, I've kind of had a lot going on.
Yeah. As far as stuff thrown, now I have to be careful how I present this. Now I have had a rock thrown. It wasn't a stick or anything falling from a tree, but the thing is, even though that's the thing, I didn't see what threw it. I just know it got my attention. It landed real hard by the back of my foot, and I did an about face real quick because I didn't know what was behind me or what. But it was during the daytime. But I looked around. I said, the first thing I said, I know at least I appeared to be alone. I was like, "Where are you?" I was by
well,
myself.
I can give you a hint. Squirrels and coons don't throw things at you.
Yep. And the thing is, I mean, where I was, in the direction it came from, it was nothing but trees and bushes that you couldn't see through. So I was like,
Right.
okay, there's something over there. Now, the thing is, in this same location, if you walk out of the woods, just walk out of the woods a little ways, see, in this part of the national forest, there's a spot right across the road, on the other side of the road. It's a cleared out area where you could camp, and that's where I mainly set up camp. And now, I've camped in this area. I camp here all the time. And there's another spot just a little ways over. It's a much bigger clearing where that's where we're going to be here in September camping. But right across the road in the same area where I had that rock thrown, I've had all kinds of activity happen right in that main specific area. And back in 2014, there was me, Tracy Arnold, Cliff Stanley, and another couple that was with us. We've actually had our encounter in that same woods coming from the lake. And not to mention all the vocalizations I've documented through the past years up to present times. So yeah, and let me throw in there the actually reports I've gotten from now. It's been probably about 4 years ago by now. Well, now at least 3. It's only been 3, but yeah, I've gotten some pretty interesting stuff in there. So yeah, I'm hoping we have some interesting activity. I hope we could come across something because our last expedition's been they've been great. We've come across, found some great stuff, tracks and all, but I want some activity. I want to hear something, or better yet, even see something. So
Right.
we do have a group of paranormal investigators that are going to be joining us, which is I think going to be awesome because they want to get involved with Bigfoot. They want to bring their techniques and their tools into the Bigfoot scene. So, and see, I'm just anxious to know what they might be able to produce out of the whole situation, So that should be interesting to see how that's going to turn out. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
They're coming from, they're coming from Virginia Beach, which that's only about a good 3-hour drive from where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
That's right there on the East Coast, directly on the East Coast. So,
Right.
But yeah, so that should be pretty interesting. Well, I'll tell you what, Jen. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. I'm glad you were coming on, and I hope you can join us next Friday.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I already got our guests lined up. Yeah, and I think we're gonna start making this a regular thing.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But it's been fun, and I'm glad. Like I said, I'm just excited.
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad you got
enjoyed
to
it.
come on.
I'm glad I called in.
Absolutely. And hey, and plus on a good note, I got to hear your voice.
Yeah, finally.
Right. All right. Well, I'll talk to you
All
soon.
right, honey. Well, you have a good night, and I'll catch back with you next Friday.
All right, sounds good. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
FiOS is not cable. We're wired differently, which means you can get the fastest internet available with equal upload and download speeds from 50 to 500 megs. So you can upload 200 photos before your favorite song is finished. Click the ad and switch to FiOS today to get our best offer ever. FiOS is not cable. We're wired differently, which means you can get the fastest internet available with equal upload and download speeds from 50 to 500 megs. So you can upload 200 photos before your favorite song is finished. Click the ad and switch to FiOS today to get our best offer ever.